Welcome to another DragonLance Saga Gaming Advanced Dungeons & Dragons episode. It is the 11th episode in the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide series. It is me, Sham Frostcolt, the 11th. My name is Adam. DragonLance came out of Dungeons & Dragons, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons specifically, so I thought it'd be fun to read the core rules aloud and discuss them with a live audience. I would like to take a moment and thank the DL Saga YouTube members and Patreon patrons and invite you to consider becoming a member or patron. You can even grab Dragonlance Media using my affiliate links in the description below. Okay, so we left off in the magical research, and we're going to pick up here in just 1 second with fabrication of magic items, including potions and scrolls. Thanks for tuning in, Corey. It's an obvious premise of the game that magic items are made somewhere by someone or something. A properly run campaign will be relatively stringent with respect to the number of available magic items, so your players will sooner or later express a desire to manufacture their own. Do not tell them how this is to be accomplished. In order to find out, they must consult with a sage, or a high-level character of the proper profession, the latter being detailed a bit hereafter. Magic items are made by high-level magic users, except those items which are restricted to clerics and special racial items in books, artifacts, and relics. Books, including tomes, librams, and manuals, artifacts, and relics are of ancient manufacture, possibly from superior human or demi-human technology, perhaps of divine origin. Thus, books, artifacts, and relics cannot be made by players and come only from the Dungeon Master. Dwarven and Elven manufactured items, the +3 Dwarven Warhammer, certain other magical axes and hammers, cloaks and boots of elven kind, magic arrows, magic bows in some cases, and even some magic daggers and swords are likewise beyond the ken of player characters of these races. Only very old, very intelligent, and wise dwarves and elves will have attained maximum level advancement, are able to properly forge, fashion, and or make these items and have the appropriate magics and spells to change them into special items, i.e., these items are likewise the precinct of the DM exclusively. This still leaves an incredible range of magic items which playing characters can aspire to manufacture. It is a sad fact, however, that these aspirations must be unsatisfied until the player character achieves a level of ability which is one greater than the nominal highest level, High Priest, Druid, Wizard, Illusionist. That is, a player character must be at least an 11th level High Priest, an Archdruid, a 12th level Wizard, or an 11th level Illusionist in order to manufacture magic items, except with respect to potions and scrolls, as will be discussed hereafter. Furthermore, a player character may manufacture only these items particular to his or her profession, or items which are usable by professions, not able to so make magic items only. Thus, a cleric is unable to fashion a wand usable by magic users or illusionists. A magic user cannot manufacture a clerical made magic item, etc. There is a further prohibition upon clerics regarding the making of items which are prohibited to their profession or which are of opposite alignments. This restraint does not extend to the sphere of magic users as a class. Thus, clerics cannot manufacture magic swords, though magic users can. Manufacture of potions. Potions may be made by any magic user of 7th level or higher if he or she enlists the aid of an alchemist. At levels above the 11th, such assistance is no longer mandatory, although it will reduce the amount of money and time the player character must spend making the potion by 50% of the compound infusing time normally required, as the alchemist will be so employed instead. In order to begin manufacture of a potion, and they may be made only one at a time, the magic user must have a proper laboratory with fireplace, workbench, brazier, and several dozen alembics, flasks, dishes, mortars and pestles, basins, jugs, retorts, measuring devices, scales, and so forth. Such implements are not easily obtained, being found only at alchemical shops or produced under special orders by stonemasons, potters, glass blowers, etc. Initial outlay for the creation of a workshop, assuming that the place already has a fireplace, would cost between 200 and 1,000 gold pieces. This cost is based on the relative availability of the tradesmen and goods necessary to complete the workroom and stock it properly. The DM may certainly require a greater expenditure if the campaign has inflation and or shortages. In addition, upkeep of the laboratory requires a further monthly outlay of 10% of the total cost of the place, exclusive of any special provisions or protections, in order to stock basic fuel and supplies, replace broken equipment, and so on when the laboratory is in use. Note: the place is always in use if the player character has an alchemist in his or her employ, for the alchemist will continually putter and experiment, always to no particular end, when not engaged in specific work for the magic user. In order to avoid the length and complication of separate formulae for each type of potion, the following simple system is given. Both the cost in gold pieces and the day of compounding and infusing are determined by use of the experience points award, as shown on the list of magic items amounts. If no experience points are shown, then the potion has a 200 gold piece base for cost and time determination. The point award for a given potion is also the amount of pieces the magic user must pay in order to concoct the basic formula, with rare herbs and spices and even more exotic ingredients. The number of days required to brew the potion is the same figure, each hundred or fraction thereof indicating 1 full day of compounding time to manufacture the liquid, i.e., 250 experience points equals 250 gold piece basic cost and 3 full days of time. Most important to the manufacture of a potion is the substance of its power, the special ingredient. The list of potions and special ingredients possible is given for your convenience only. You may opt for any reasonable special ingredient you deem suitable for a potion, keeping in mind difficulty of obtaining the material, hopefully high and greater, and its sympathetic equivalency or relationship to the end result of quaffing the potion. Poison. Only assassins of 9th level or higher may concoct potions of poison, or any other sort of poison for that matter. Refer to the section on assassins for details of special forms of poison. No laboratory or alchemist is needed, but cost and time are found as if a normal person was being prepared. And then we actually have a bit of a table here. Suggested special ingredients for poisons. And you have the type, for potions. The type of potion: animal control, clairvoyance, clairaudience, climbing, delusion, diminution, dragon control, ESP, and the suggested special ingredients. And in some cases, it's like simian thalamus gland, doppelganger flesh, appropriate dragon brain. I mean, just awesome, awesome items. And it just goes on for extra healing and heroism and levitation and filter of love. Dryad's hair for filter of love. So if you ever meet a dryad out there, people, take a hair clipping. Sweet water, water elemental eye, or Triton blood. Just great. Great to even consider this sort of ridiculousness. All right, manufacture of scrolls. Scrolls are hold on, let me do a timestamp really quick. Scrolls are exceptional in that they are simple storage space for spells of one sort or another. Clerics, druids, magic users, and illusionists inscribe scrolls with spells applicable to their particular professions. Protection spells are scribed by either magic users or clerics, the determination being as follows: clerical protection spells for over devils, possession, or undead; magic user protection spells versus demons, elementals, lycanthropes, magic, or petrification. Curse scrolls can be made of any sort of spell user noted above. Scrolls may be inscribed only by characters of 7th level or higher, and the spells placed upon the scroll must be of a level which the inscribing character is able to employ, i.e. a 9th level magic user could not place a 7th level spell on a scroll. Note, that the right spell enables the magic user to inscribe his or her own reference works, so as to be able to read and remember higher level spells than he or she is currently able to use. It does not enable casting or scroll inscription. A scroll of spells may be inscribed only upon pure and unblemished papyrus, parchment, or vellum, the latter being the most desirable. Any mistake will doom the effort to failure. A fresh virgin quill must be used for each spell transcribed. The quill must be from a creature of strange or magical nature, i.e., a griffin, harpy, hippogriff, pegasus, roc, sphinx of any sort, and similar monsters you elect to include, demons, devils, lamassu, etc. The material upon which the scroll of spells is to be written can be purchased at the following cost guidelines. Papyrus per sheet, 2 gold pieces and up, plus 5% chance of failure. Parchment per sheet, 4 gold pieces and up, 0% chance of failure, plus 0%. Vellum per sheet, 8 gold pieces and up, minus 5% chance of failure. The type of material used will affect the likelihood of successful transcription, as listed above. Special quills cannot normally be purchased, for only common goose or similar feather instruments are available in shops. The would-be inscriber must arrange for the special writing tool as he or she can. Ink is a very special requirement. Scroll spell ink, just as the ink for detailing spells in spellbooks, is compounded only by the inscriber from secret and strange ingredients. The basic medium should be sepia from a giant squid or ink from a giant octopus. To this liquid must be added blood, powdered gems, herbal and spice infusions, drafts concocted from parts of monsters, and so on. An example of a formula for the ink required to scribe a protection from petrification spell is shown below. 1 ounce, giant squid sepia, 1 basilisk eye, 3 cockatrice feathers, 1 scruple of venom from a Medusa's snakes, 1 large peridot powdered, 1 medium topaz powdered, 2 drams holy water, 6 pumpkin seeds. Harvest the pumpkin in the dark of the moon and dry the seeds over a slow fire of sandalwood and horse dung. Select 3 perfect ones and grind them into a coarse meal, husks and all. Boil the basilisk's eye and cockatrice feathers for exactly 5 minutes in a saline solution. Drain and place in a jar. Add the Medusa's snake venom and gem powders, allow to stand for 24 hours, stirring occasionally. Pour off liquid into bottle. Add sepia and holy waters, mixing constants with a silver rod, stirring widder shins, makes ink sufficient for 1 scroll. That is a lot for 1 scroll. Other ingredient formulas will be devised similarly according to the dictates of the DM. Ingredients should suit the overall purpose of the ink. It is recommended that each different spell be transcribed require a different ink compound. Clerical spells requiring more venerated and holy materials, druid spells basically being rare roots, herbs, and in infusions, and so on. Garments, wrappings, dust, sweat, tears, teeth, fangs, organs, blood, and so forth are all ideal compounds. Once material, quill, and ink are ready, the spell scriber must actually write the magical runes, glyphs, symbols, characters, pictograms, and words upon the surface of the scroll. Transcription must be from his or her scroll books or upon an altar for clerics and druids. Special candles and incense must be burning while the inscription is in progress. Clerics must have prayed and specially sacrificed to their deity, while magic users must have drawn a magic circle and remain uninterrupted. Preparation requires 1 full day for each level of the spell being scribed on the scroll. A first level spell takes 1 day. A second level spell takes 2, etc. Time so spent must be continuous, with interruptions only for rest, food, sleep, and the like. If the inscriber leaves the scroll to do anything else, the magic is broken, and the whole effort is for naught. Failure. There is a basic 20% chance that a mistake, smudge, or flaw in the scroll will make the spell useless. To this base chance is added 1% per level of the spell being inscribed, so that total failure chance is from 21% to 29%, minus the level of character attempting to write the spell. Thus, if a 14th level cleric is attempting to write a 7th level spell on a parchment scroll, the failure chance is 20% plus 7% minus 14%, equaling a 13% chance. After the requisite materials and preparations have been taken care of, the player character must then spend the full time necessary to inscribe the scroll spell. Thereafter, a percentile dice roll greater than the percentage chance of failure equals success. If multiple spells are being scribed, a failure of one means that no further spells may be placed upon the scroll. In any event, a maximum of 7 spells may be written on a single scroll. As a spell is read from the scroll, its letters and figures writhe and glow, and the magic is affected, and then the lines fade and are gone forever. In order for a magic user or illusionist to transcribe a heretofore unknown spell from a scroll to his or her spellbooks, a read magic and then a period of time equal to that necessary to place the spell on the scroll are required. This likewise causes the spell to disappear from the scroll. The scriber of the spell does not need a read magic spell to use his or her own scroll spells, just as clerics and druids never need the aid of magic to read appropriate scroll spells. Fabrication of other magic items. All of the various other magic items will require the use of the magic spell enchant an item, save clerical items. With respect to the former, you must determine which spells and ingredients are necessary to the manufacture of each specific magic item. For example, a player character wizard of 15th level desires to make a ring of spell storing. He or she commissions a platinum smith to fashion a ring of the finest quality and pays 5,000 gold pieces for materials and labor. He or she then casts the enchantment and item spell according to the player's handbook instructions. As DM, you now inform him or her that in order to contain and accept the spells he or she desires to store in the device, a scroll bearing the desired spells must be scribed, then a permanency spell cast upon the scroll, then the scroll must be merged with the ring by some means, typically a wish spell. As all of that could now not be done in time, the ring would have to be prepared with the enchanted item spell again. Of course, you could tell the player before if you're soft-hearted or he or she is intelligent enough to ask before starting the ball rolling. The above-mentioned ring of spell storing should be made without the benefit of a permanency spell, and spells could be stored within, but they could only be called forth once, and then the ring would be useless. Wands and other chargeable items do not require permanency, and of course they are used up when all the charges are gone. Items with a permanency dweomer, such as weapons, armors, most rings, and miscellaneous magic items, do require a permanency spell to be made continuously operational. Clerics and druids making an item which is applicable to their profession must spend a fortnight in retreat, meditating in complete isolation. Thereafter, he or she must spend a sennight fasting. Finally, he or she must pray over and purify the item to become magical. This process takes but a day. Of course, the item must be of the finest quality, just as detailed in the enchanted item spell description. Thereafter, the cleric or druid must place the item upon his or her altar and invoke the direct favor of his or her deity to instill a special power into the item. There is a 1% per day cumulative chance that the item will then be empowered as desired, providing the cleric or druid has been absolutely exemplary in his or her faith and alignment requirements. Furthermore, if the item is one with charges, the cleric or druid must then take it into seclusion and cast the requisite spells upon it, doing so within 24 hours of it being favored by the deity. In other cases, the item need only be sanctified to the appropriate deity in order to complete its manufacture. In all cases, the manufacture of any magic item other than a potion or scroll will be so debilitating as to necessitate the maker to rest for 1 day for each 100 gold piece of the item's experience point value, i.e., one with a 2,000 experience point value means 20 days of complete rest. During this period, the character can do nothing except eat, rest, undertake mild exercise, and sleep, all in relative isolation. No adventuring or spell use is possible during this period. Fabrication of magic items by illusionists. Though different spells are employed, the process of fabrication of magic items which illusionists use is not really very different from that used by magic users. It's almost exactly similar as regarded costs in both time and money. Some processes are also nearly identical, such as the making of scrolls, which may be done at the 7th level and up. At the 11th level, illusionists may be able to create one-shot or charged magic items, things without a permanent dweomer, such as potions or a wand of illusion, for example. Such items are really merely storehouses of magical energy, which can be released in various ways. Like any other spellcaster, the illusionist must fashion the item out of rare and expensive materials, but instead of using enchant an item to prepare the item to receive its enchantment, the illusionist uses major creation to subtly alter its structure in a magical direction, so that it can receive and retain the necessary spells during the next 16 after casting the major creation. The illusionist instills the primary initial dweomer into the item, and if his concentration is interrupted even once during this period, the item instantly fades and forever disappears like an illusion that has been dispelled. Beginning at 14th level, an illusionist may attempt to make items with a truly permanent dweomer, such as a +1 dagger or a ring of protection, for example. This entails a similar process to the one described above. The crucial difference is that after a major creation spell has been used to adjust the material object, an alter reality must be cast to fix it permanently in place and make it able to contain a permanent magic. Thus, with a great expense in time, money, and preparation, major creation, alter reality, and true sight spells are an unflawed gem worth not less than 10,000 gold pieces. An illusionist might be able to create a gem of seeing. The basic thing to remember, if details are in question, is that illusionists are a subclass of magic users, and except for what has been outlined above, what applies to magic users applies to illusionists as well. Fabrication of magic items by charmed or enslaved magic users. It is absolutely necessary that you take note that any sort of charmed, magically persuaded, or otherwise enslaved magic user will be totally unable to function in such a manner as to allow the fabrication of any sort of magical item, scroll, potion, or otherwise. The discipline and concentration demanded by such activities absolutely precludes individuals of this sort from manufacturing magic items. If a player character should attempt to have such a character fabricate items, allow the usual amounts of time and money to be expended, and then inform him or her that the results are negative. If the player character opts to have the enslaved individual continue, say nothing, but the attempts will continue to be fruitless. Non-standard magic items. There are two considerations respecting non-standard magic items. The first is your invention and inclusion of them in your campaign, and this is expected and encouraged. You should put your imagination and inventiveness to work this way. Standard items can be varied so as to make it more interesting when your players are familiar with the usual forms. New devices can be created to add freshness and new dimension to the game. Special magic items can be devised to complement some special situation or to serve as a special reward for overcoming some special monster or difficult area. All such creations, however, must be made with care. The item must be such as not to unbalance the game. They must not make one player character too strong, either with respect to opponents or his or her fellows, or to the campaign, or to the game system as a whole. Items which are expended after single use, those with limited charges, and those with variable effects are most desirable. As it is very likely that every campaign will have its special items, the second consideration comes up. Other referees will not generally know what special powers or restrictions such items have. Thus, they will not be usable in campaigns other than that from which they came in most cases. You as a referee should simply cause any such items brought into your campaign to disappear. Never take a player's word for any item. Do not allow its use in your campaign unless you know his or her DM and get a full explanation in writing from that person which details the properties of the item. Do not allow a player to bulldoze you in any manner regarding this. Simply inform the person that he or she must have left the item in his or her former area and it is not around in yours. This solves the problem of having a possible imbalance brought into your carefully designed campaign. This ties directly to the section dealing with integration of experienced or new players into an existing campaign. Note: altered form of a standard AD&D item is not a new or non-standard item, i.e., a cap which causes its wearer to be invisible is the same as a ring of invisibility. All right, we are on a whole new section, so I need to update my title here. Use of magic items. Oh, yeah. Hey, Ryan, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Command words. In order to use a rod, staff, or wand, it is usually necessary to know the proper command word. There are several possible ways to acquire this knowledge. If the item is or was in the possession of an opponent, it may be possible to learn the appropriate word or phrase directly, either by noting what he or she says when using the item, or by causing the possessor to divulge the information through force or trickery. It is common for spell users to keep such information recorded among their hidden scrolls and spell books, in case their memories should somehow become impaired or simply prove insufficient and the words be forgotten. If none of these sources should fit the situation, and the item was not found with an accompanying scroll explaining its use and history, it may be necessary to resort to informational spells such as Contact Other Plane, Legend Lore, or Speak with Dead. I have never dealt with this in this manner, and it stuns me that I never have. Anytime you're using a magic item that does something, you have to call out a command word. And if you just collected that off of an enemy or in a dragon's horde, how the hell would you know what the command word is? Like, I've never even considered that when I was playing as a kid. And so it's wonderful to be reminded of stuff like this when you're actually, especially like, I know in modern editions, they say, oh, you just sit with the item and attune yourself to it for a short rest, and then you just have command over the item. That makes no sense at all. First of all, one, you have no idea what that item is or does, and sitting with it looking at it certainly isn't going to tell you what it does. And then two, that certainly then also would not tell you how to command it. Like, who would put a command word on the side of their wand? Because then anyone could just take your wand from you and use it against you. Of course you wouldn't do that. And you certainly wouldn't have a little scroll hanging off of it like a keychain with the command word written on it. That would be nonsensical. So yeah, this should be something that is used in every single case, in every single time. And it also makes magic items incredibly rare and special, which is the point. At least in my campaigns, it's the point. All right, 2802 is my timestamp. Crystal balls and scrying. Various devices for seeing at a distance, such as crystal balls, various scrying devices, such as dishes or pans of water or mirrors, and spells, such as clairaudience, are detectable. If the creature being observed in this manner is a spell user, then consult the table given for detection of invisibility, in the section entitled Invisibility. Find the creature's level and hit dice and intelligence, and then use the table as if an invisible creature were to be detected, checking each round. If crystal balling or scrying in any other form is detected by the observed, then it can be stopped by the use of darkness or dispel magic, the observed simply noting the small disturbance in the air caused by the magical viewing and casting of the spell upon that spot, thus causing the scrying to cease for the length of the darkness spell, or for a full day in case of dispel magic. Drinking potions. It takes but a segment, 6 seconds, to open and consume the typical potion. Thereafter, however, a certain delay will occur when the contents are ingested and the magical properties of the potion take effect. The delay will be from 2 to 5 segments as a rule. When a potion is imbibed, simply roll d4 add +1 to the result, and in that number of segments, the effects of the dose will take full effect. You may establish specific times for various potions if you so desire, but this is a complication which is not generally recommended. This makes perfect sense. You drink a glass of beer, it's going to take a certain amount of time for that to affect you. You eat a gummy, and it's going to take a certain amount of time for that to affect you. So why would potions be any different? However, this does create the opportunity conflict between player and DM. If you're in the middle of combat and they swig a healing potion, well, guess what, buddy? It doesn't take effect for 5 segments, and in that time, the enemy hits you again and you die. So it could be very, very troublesome using this. But again, it's just one of those little rules that if you didn't read this, you wouldn't know. And if you do read it as a DM, you're like, how can I use this against my players? Not in a vindictive way, but just as in a fun way, you know? You just snort gummies? Oh my gosh. Applying oils. Magic oils not being consumed are treated differently. The contents are poured over hands and body and smeared appropriately. This will require normal opening time and decanting, i.e. 1 segment. Spreading the oil will require 2 to 5 segments also, just as detailed for potions to take effect. I didn't realize you had to decant oils in order to use them. That's kind of weird. Potion miscibility. The magical mixtures and compounds which comprise potions are not always compatible. You must test the miscibility of potions whenever 1, 2 potions are actually intermingled, or 2, a potion is consumed by a creature while another such liquid already consumed is still in effect. While it is possible to prepare a mix which lists each potion type and cross-reference each to show a certain result when one is intermingled with the other, such a graph has 2 drawbacks. First, it does not allow for differences in formula from alchemist and or magic user. Second, it will require continual addition as a new potion types are added to the campaign. Therefore, it is suggested that the following table be used with perhaps the decision that a delusion potion will mix with anything. That oil of slipperiness taken with oil of etherealness will always increase the chance for the imbiber to be lost in the ethereal plane for 5 to 30 days to 50%, and treasure finding mixed with any other type of potion will always yield a lethal poison. Whatever certain results you settle upon for your campaign, the random results from the table apply to all other cases. Let's take a look at this together, because why not? All right, potion miscibility table. Explosion! Internal damage 6 to 60 hit points. Oh my gosh. Lethal poison, mild poison, immiscible, both poisons totally destroyed. Oh wow. Miscible potion would normally useless. Work normally unless the effects are contradictory. Discovery! The admixture of the 2 potions has caused a special formula, which will cause one of the 2 potions not only to function, but its effects will be permanent upon the imbiber. Harmful side effects could well result. That's awesome. Roll for miscibility secretly whenever it occurs. Give no uncalled for clues until necessary. Energy draining by undead or device. When a character loses a level of energy, he or she loses an experience level. That is, he or she loses hit points equal to those gained with the acquisition of the former experience level, including bonus points for Constitution, all abilities gained with the experience level now lost, and experience points sufficient to bring the total possessed to the midpoint of the next lower level. If this brings the character below first level of experience, then the individual is a 0-level person, never capable of gaining experience points again. If a 0-level individual is drained of an energy level, he or she is dead, possibly to become an undead monster. In order to allow for the possibility of the loss of hit die due to the energy level draining, you might require that players record the scores of each hit die rolled for their characters, so that when a level is lost, the appropriate number of hit points also lost can be known immediately. This is something that I love about Roll20 character sheets, because it does have that option as well. A multi-classed character, or a character with two classes, who is drained of an experience level always loses the highest level he or she has gained. E.g., a halfling, second level fighter, third level thief would lose one level of thieving ability. If all levels are equal, the highest level of the class which requires the greatest amount of experience points is lost. If a multi-class character, e.g. a fighter, magic user, is struck by a creature which drains 2 levels, a level is drained from each class. When a character is drained of all energy levels, he or she might become an undead monster of the same sort which killed him or her. See the appropriate paragraphs pertaining to the undead monster concerned in the monster manual. These lesser undead are controlled by their slayer or drainer. Each has but half the hit die of a normal undead monster of the same type. Lesser vampires have but half their former level of experience with respect to their profession, cleric, fighter, etc., at the time that they initially encountered and were subsequently slain or drained by their now master vampire, i.e., an 8th level thief killed by a vampire, even though drained to below 0th level in the process, returns as a 4th level thief vampire, as appropriate. However, upon the destruction of their slayer drainer, such lesser undead gain energy levels from the character they subsequently slay or drain until they reach the maximum number of hit dice, and their former level of class experience as well, if applicable, appropriate to their type of undead monster. Upon reaching full hit dice status, they are able to slay or drain and control lesser undead as they once were. Alright, we are now on treasure. And this is basically a series of tables. I'm not sure how I'm going to tackle this. Treasure, random treasure determination. 1, map or magic determination. 1 to 10 is map table 2. 11 to 100 is magic items table 3. If the treasure in a monster's lair indicates that maps or magic are there, you will often have to determine which are present by random number generation with percentile dice. This is simple, and the table shows which tables to use to determine the result. This system can be used for monsters you place on the outdoor map, as well as for monsters randomly encountered by party exploring in the wilderness. In any event, you will have to make a number of additional dice rolls to find exactly what is within the treasure trove. Map table. 1 to 5 is a false map, 6 to 70 is a map of monetary treasure, 71 to 90 is a map of magical treasure, and 91 to 100 is mapped to a combined hoard. If a map is indicated, you must generate a number between 1 and 100 to discover what the map leads to. However, the contents of the map itself are a problem, for how can it be possible to direct each DM properly considering the infinite number of possibilities under which the map will be located? The answer is that this writer can only suggest. A map should never list its treasure, only show its location. When a map is purposely placed by the DM, it is obviously incumbent upon him or her to satisfy both its requirements, to have what it leads and where it leads. Randomly discovered maps are not an overwhelming problem. In the dungeon, they can show a route down, up, or, if the lair is at the edge of a level map, off to an area where you have not yet drawn. Use the random dungeon generation tables to set out a course with the map will show. There is no reason why the treasure cannot be guarded or why monsters cannot be encountered along the way as long as the whole fits reasonably together, i.e., the map owner placed the guards or was unable to get the treasure because of these monsters. Generally, the whole route can be quite long or only a few hundred feet. If the treasure is particularly rich, you might wish to have it hidden leagues away in another lost dungeon along the course of a long underground river or something similar. The direction of your campaign is strictly your province. Hey, Julian, how you doing? Maps found outdoors in a monster's lair can lead into an underground labyrinth, a few miles in the wilderness to some hidey hole, lair, ruins, or even in a town. Direction is easily determined by a quick roll of a D8, basic compass on 1 being north or whatever, and simply counting round 2 northeast, 3 is east, etc. The table may be used as a guide if you wish. I've never liked the idea of these random rolls to determine direction or dungeons or any of that. Just make it up. Like, you're the DM. Do your job. And there's a whole list here of showing like labyrinth of caves found. Well, let me just show you. Why not? Why not? Labyrinth of caves found in the lair, outdoor, 5 miles outdoors. And then, of course, my big head's in the way of some more stuff. Elaborate as you see fit. For containment, concealment, and trapping, refer to the tables given with the random dungeon generation. Note that relatively low-value treasures will not be as well guarded as those of greater value. Hey, Chris, how you doing? Treasure chest be a mimic. I think you're right. Monetary treasure. Now it's got random dice rolls. You know, I've got to show you guys these because I'm not going to read them all. So you can see the result of the dice from 1 to 20 and the monetary value of it. Specific types of jewelry can be determined in the jewelry and item type, typically bejeweled table, part of Appendix 1 dungeon dressing if desired. This table shows the parameters for each sort of goods that can be found in a treasure of this sort. Random number generation with D20 discovers which sorts of goods are in the trove. You will observe that the table is weighted towards large quantities of coins, which will require a train to remove, or must be left entirely if foreplanning is not observed. As with any treasure not taken immediately, you must set a percentage chance for it to be stolen away if it's abandoned by the discoverers. The actions and precautions will serve as a guideline. If a monster guarded the treasure, the likelihood of it being taken elsewhere could increase greatly. Base value of gems and jewelry can be determined when the treasure is actively divided and disposed of. Magical treasure. Of course, we have a table for that as well. This random determination table needs no explanation because of its weighting. And the weighting of the magic items table, most treasures will have magic potions, scrolls, armors, and weapons. This is carefully planned so as to prevent imbalance in the game. Keep potent magic items rare. Increase scarcity by destroying or stealing what is found. And then we have the combined hoard table, and it shows you everything that would be within that. Key the results to the proper listings from the prior two tables. These are the real finds, which can satisfy even the most avaricious dwarf's greed. Note that when it says 1 to 2 monetary treasure, for instance, it means the treasure indicated by a die result of 1 or 2 on the monetary treasure subtable. Combined hoards should be hidden, trapped, and guarded. They should be located in distant places, too. And then we're to the normal magic item lists. I love these random generation lists. I've used them so many times in the past. It's so much fun. And when creating like brand new characters and stuff, it's so much fun just to roll through, say, all right, well, let's see what you're going to get, in your adventuring. As mentioned previously, the magic items table is weighted towards results which imbalance the game. Potions, scrolls, armors, and arms are plentiful. Rings, rods, and miscellaneous items of magic represent only a 25% occurrence on the table. This is so done in order to keep magic users from totally dominating play. They are sufficiently powerful characters without adding piles of supplementary goodies. What they gain from the table will typically be used up and discarded. When determination of a magic item is needed, simply roll a percentile dice and consult Table 3. Complete explanations of each category follow, but as many items duplicate or closely resemble the effects of various magic spells, you'll need a copy of the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook for reference. The suggested experience point values are for characters who keep the items. Gold piece sale values are the usual sums which characters will be paid for magic items, and if sold. The XP award should be based on the selling price of the items, not the XP value. Also remember that the character is assumed to retain an item, thus getting the low XP value for it, if he or she sells it to another player. See experience. Note, many magical items are of an expendable nature, where the power is depleted with each use and eventually used up. The Dungeon Master can use his discretion in setting such limitations on other particular items if he wishes. All right, so we have a whole bunch of tables that I'm going to just sort of breeze through. We got potions showing here. Go back to the top, and we show effectiveness of type of creatures controlled must be determined by die roll, consult item explanation. The Dungeon Master must mislead the possessor of the potion so as to convince him that it is not harmful. I want to see the example of that. Oh, poison. Durr. That was going to be more fun than that. Fighters only may use... What can fighters only use? Giant strength, invulnerability, and superheroism. Nice. Sorry, clerics. You don't get squat. You do get scrolls, though. Here's a whole bunch of scrolls. 30% of all scrolls are of clerical nature, and 25% of all clerical scrolls are druidical. 10% of all magic user scrolls are illusionist. This applies only to scrolls 1 to 60 above. Asterisk numbers indicate clerical spells. It is incumbent upon the Dungeon Master to do his utmost to convince players that a cursed scroll should be read. This is to be accomplished through duplicity, coercion, and threat, etc. You're going to read that scroll or you don't get any Doritos. I.e., any scroll not read has a chance of fading in normal air, but that can be noted by the archaic wording if read in the still dungeon atmosphere. A curse takes effect immediately. Suggested curses are polymorphed to a monster, reader turned to liquid, and drains away. That's so brutal. Explosive rooms, disease fatal to reader. Oh, these are so great. Experience points values. Award only to characters who can use the spells. The award should be 100 XP per spell level. Protection scrolls are noted as to XP value on the table itself. Gold piece sale value. Any scroll can be sold to the open market for 3 times its XP value. Protection scrolls for 5 times XP value. Dope. We got a whole bunch of rings here. These rings contain most powerful magical abilities and may possess only a limited number of magical charges before being depleted at the DM's discretion. Jinn summoning. You ain't never had a friend like me. Rod, staves, and wands. You got all sorts of really great rod, staves, and wands. Assumes full charges are in the item. C is a cleric only. F is fighter class only. M is magic user class only. T is thief class only. And any usable by any class unless otherwise prohibited. Miscellaneous magic. We got all sorts of cool stuff like bag of beans. Braziers commanding fire elementals. That's dope. Per armor class above 10, i.e. armor class 6 is worth 2,000. 12,000 gold pieces if sold. And of course we have table 2 of miscellaneous magic items. Chime of Hunger. Well, that's interesting. And of course, all these have descriptions later on. I'm not going to go through each description. I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I'm a masochist and I'll do it. I don't know yet. All sorts of cool miscellaneous stuff here. Of course, we got a little cartoon. Well, either it allows a magic user to throw the various Big B's hand spells, or it's a +2 back scratcher. So far, we're not sure which. Scratch your back. See if it works. Look at the dude, his arms like hanging in the treasure chest there. That's awesome. I love these little cartoons. Just tons of little awesome tables. So much fun to look through them. Sword +1 flame tongue. 70% of swords are long swords, 20% are broad swords, 5% are short, small swords, 4% are bastard swords, 1 are two-handed swords. And then miscellaneous weapons, explanations, and descriptions of magic items. All right, let's go through some of this and just see what happens. I don't know. I mean, potions. Potions are typically found in ceramic, crystal, glass, or metal flasks in enough quantity to provide one person with one complete dose so as to be able to achieve the effects which are given hereafter for each type of potion. Potion containers can be other than as described at your option. As a general rule, they should bear no identifying marks so that the players must sample from each container in order to determine the nature of the liquid. However, even a small taste should suffice to identify a potion in some way, even if just a slight urge. As Dungeon Master, you should add a few different sorts of potions, both helpful and harmful, of such nature as to cause difficulties in identification. In addition, the same type of potion, which derived from different sources, might smell, taste, and look differently. Unless otherwise stated, the effects of a potion will last for 4 complete turns, plus 1 to 4 additional turns. If half a potion is quaffed, the effects will last 1/2 as long as in some cases. Potions take 2 to 5 segments after they're imbibed. While potions can be compounded by magic user alchemist teams at a relatively low cost, they must have an actual potion to obtain the formula for each type. Furthermore, the ingredients are always rare and or hard to come by. This aspect of potions, as well as the formulation of new ones by players, is detailed in the appropriate subsection of the magical research rules. Animal control. This potion enables the imbiber to empathize with and control the emotions of animals of one type, i.e., cats, dogs, horses, etc. The number of animals so controlled depends upon size. 5 to 20 animals of the size of giant rats, 3 to 12 animals about man size, or 1 to 4 animals about 1/2 ton or more in weight. The sort of animal which can be controlled depends on the particular potion as indicated by a die roll D12. Mammal, avian, reptile, fish, mammal, reptile, all the above. Animals with intelligence of 5 or lower or better are entitled to a saving throw versus magic. Control is limited to emotions or drives unless some form of communication is possible. Note that many monsters cannot be controlled by the use of this potion, nor can humans, demi-humans, or humanoids. Cf. Ring of Mammal Control. Clairaudience. This potion empowers the creature drinking it to hear as the 3rd level magic user spell of the same name. It can be used, however, to clairaudit unknown areas within 3 inches. Its effects last for 2 turns only. Just a reminder, the inches are in reference to tens of feet indoors and tens of yards outdoors. Clairvoyance. This potion empowers the individual to see as the 3rd level magic user spell Clairvoyance. It differs from the spell in that unknown areas up to 3 inches distant can be seen. Its effects last for 1 turn only. A turn is 10 minutes. Climbing. Imbibing this potion enables the individual to climb as a thief up to or down vertical surfaces with only a base 1% chance of slipping and falling. Check at the halfway point, D% 0.1 equals a fall. A climbing potion is effective for 1 turn plus 5 to 20 rounds for every 1,000 gold pieces, weight equivalent, carried by the character. There is an additional 1% added to chance of slipping. If the climber wears armor, there are the following additions to the slipping falling chance. Stud leather 1%, and it goes up to all of them. Plate mail 10%. Delusion. This potion affects the mind of the character so that he or she believes the liquid is some other potion. Healing, for example, is a good choice. Damage is restored by drinking it, and only death or rest after the adventure will reveal that the potion only caused the imbiber to believe that he or she was aided. If several individuals taste this potion, it is still 90% probable that they will all agree it is the same potion, or whatever type of the DM announces or hints at. Diminution. When this potion is quaffed, the individual and all he or she carries and wears will diminish in size to as small as 5% of normal size. If half of the contents are swallowed, the person shrinks to 50% of the normal size. This effects of the potion lasts for 6 turns plus 2 to 5 turns. Dragon Control. This potion enables the individual drinking it to cast what is in effect a charm monster spell upon any dragon within 6 inches. The dragon is entitled to a saving throw versus magic, but it's made at a -2 on the die. There are various sorts of dragon control potions as shown below, for each type of dragon basically. Control lasts from 5 to 20 rounds. ESP. The ESP potion bestows an ability which is the same as the 2nd level magic user spell of the same name, except that its effects last for 5 to 40 rounds, i.e. 5 to 40 minutes. Extra Healing. This potion restores 6 to 27 hit points of damage when wholly consumed, or 1d8 hit points of damage for each 1/3 potion. Here's a question to all you out there, DMs. When your players roll a 1 on a healing spell or a healing potion, do you make them keep the 1? I do. That's how big of a dick I am. Fire Resistance. This potion bestows magical invulnerability to all forms of normal fire, such as bonfires, burning oil, or even huge pyres of flaming wood upon the person drinking it. It furthermore gives resistance to such fires as generated by molten lava, a wall of fire, a fireball, fiery dragon breath, and similar intense flame or heat. All damage from such fires is reduced by -2 from each die of damage, and if a saving throw is applicable, it's made at a +4. Note, if but 1/2 of the potion is consumed, it confers invulnerability to normal fires and half the benefits noted above. The potion lasts 1 turn or 5 rounds for half doses. Guilty. Flying. A flying potion enables the individual drinking it to fly in the same manner as the 3rd level magic user spell Fly. Gaseous form. By imbibing this magical liquid, an individual causes his or her body, as well as what it carries and wears, to become gaseous in form and able to flow according at base speed of 3 inches per round. A gust of wind spell or even normal strong air currents will blow the gaseous form backwards at air speeds. The gaseous form is transparent and insubstantial. It wavers and shifts. It cannot be harmed except by magical fires or lightnings, in which case damage is normal. A whirlwind will inflict double damage upon any creature in gaseous form. When in such condition, the individual is able to enter any space which is not airtight, i.e., a small crack or hole which allows air to penetrate, also allows entry by a creature in gaseous form. The entire potion must be consumed to achieve the result, and the effects last the entire duration. All right. Question. Would you allow a player character to drink the gaseous form and then go into the butthole of a dragon or any other creature and then go to their normal form and harm the dragon or other creature from the inside? And in some cases, if it's larger than the creature it's going into, it would explode that creature from the inside out. What do you say, Dungeon Masters? Inquiring minds want to know. Giant control. A full potion of this draft must be drunk in order to make its effects be felt. It will influence 1 or 2 giants as if a charm monster spell were affecting them. If only one giant is so influenced, it is entitled to a saving throw versus magic at -4 on the die roll. If 2 are influenced, the die rolls are at +2. The type of giant subject to a particular potion is randomly determined as follows, and it shows the listing of them. Who am I playing with? Control lasts for only 5 to 30 rounds. Inventive players, that's who I'm playing with. Giant strength. When a giant strength potion is consumed, and I was a kid, so we're kids. We play like kids. When a giant strength potion is consumed, the individual gains great strength and bonuses to damage when he or she scores a hit with any handheld or thrown weapon. It's also possible for the person to hurl rocks as shown on the table below. Note that the type of giant strength gained by drinking the potion is randomly determined on the same table. And it's got the strength equivalency, weight allowance, damage bonus, range, base damage, bend bars, lift gates, etc. Compare these abilities to the character's strength ability and to the girdle of giant strength. The potion can be used only by fighters. Note this does not give the same powers as a girdle. Growth. This potion causes the person consuming it to enlarge in both height and weight. His or her garments and others worn or carried gear likewise growing in size. Strength is increased sufficiently to allow bearing normal armor and weapons, but does not add to combat. Movement increases to that of a giant of approximate equal size. Each quarter of the potion consumed causes 6 feet height growth, i.e., a full potion increases height by 24 feet. Healing. An entire potion must be consumed in a single drinking round in order for this liquor to restore 4 to 10 hit points of damage. Heroism. This potion gives the imbiber a temporary increase in life energy levels if he or she has fewer than 10 levels of experience. This is shown below. So, the level of consumer, if you're 0 level, you get 4 levels bestowed, and 10-sided dice for accumulated damage bestowed, 4 10-sided die. 1 to 3 levels is 3 levels, and 3 plus 1 accumulated damage. 4th to 6th level is 2 levels bestowed with 2 plus 2 accumulated damage, and 7th to 9th is 1 with 1 accumulated die damage. When the potion is quaffed, the individual fights as if he or she were the experience level bestowed by the magic of the elixir. Damage sustained is taken first from the magically gained hit dice and bonus points. This potion is restricted to use by men-at-arms and fighters. Human control. A potion of human control allows the imbiber to control up to 32 levels. Wow. Hit dice of humans, humanoids, demi-humans, as if a charm person spell has been cast, and the human types to be controlled are entitled to saving throws versus magic. Any pluses on hit dice are rounded down to the lowest whole die, i.e. 1 plus 2 equals 1 hit die, 2 plus 6 equals 2 hit die. The type of humans which can be controlled is randomly determined on the table below. And it's got a list of them all. The potion lasts from 5 to 30 rounds. All right, last one before I call this show tonight. Invisibility. When this potion is consumed, it confers invisibility similar to the spell of the same name. As actions involving combat cause termination of the non-visible state, the individual possessing the potion can quaff a single gulp, equal to 1/8 of the contents of the container, to bestow invisibility for 3 to 6 turns. All right. That is it for this episode of Gaming Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. What do you think of creating your own magic items and potions? Do you enjoy scanning through the magic item tables? And finally, what are your favorite command words for activating magic items? Feel free to email me at info@dlsaga.com or leave a comment below. I would like to take a moment and remind you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, ring the bell to get notified about upcoming videos, and click the like button. This all goes to help other Dragonlance fans learn about this channel and its content. Thank you to creator patron Aaron Hardy, producer patron Azrael, and developer patron Chris Androu. This channel is all about celebrating the wonderful world of the DragonLance Saga, and I hope you'll join in the celebration. Thank you for watching. This has been Adam with DragonLance Saga, and until next time, Slanjavar.